afternoon, everybody. Welcome, and my sincere appreciation to Dr. Morgan. I know this is just a difficult time for everybody. It is not possible to schedule this masterclass without his help and support. So my sincere appreciation. Let me just introduce him briefly. I know he's a famous organist around here. You don't need to hear that, but I just want to be official. So bear with me. I'm going to look at my picture. Dr. Morgan was born in Wales and studied at the University of Cambridge, where he was an organ scholar at St. John's College and also received his bachelor's and master's degrees. He came to the U.S. and earned his dual doctorates in organ performance and chorus conducting from the University of Washington School of Music. So he conducted several operas and then large-scale choral works, including Bach's St. John Passion, Mass in B minor, Mozart Requiem, Mass in C minor, etc. So we can't forget his memorable performances of the complete organ works of J.S. Bach and Fugue at this beautiful disc organ. He teaches the organ and choral studies and then directs the Stanford University singers with such demanding job as a Stanford organist. He is a fellow of the Royal College of Organists. Before we start, please make sure that your cell phone and electric devices turned up. We have three excellent, outstanding young organ students here and teachers. I appreciate your support and all efforts to make this organ society thriving. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session, so don't disturb the masterclass during the masterclass, but you can ask any questions at the end of the session. Students kind of had a very short warm-up because there was a previous event before the masterclass. So Robert will help him drive this fantastic organ well. So now it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Howard? Yep. Nice bit of Bach? After years. I'll try and make myself as clear as I can, even though we're all wearing masks here. And when it comes to questions, if you can shout, that's a good thing. Mask, and I'm going deaf, so never a good mix. Okay, so Eddie is playing the D minor Toccata of Johann Sebastian Bach. To you, sir. Do it again. That was really lovely. But you know what I love most is that when you make a mistake, you just power straight through. Thank you. That is. What's the first thing I say if you make a mistake? First thing you do is smile. Second thing is you just go because it's gone. All right. There's no point crying over spilled milk. But well done on that. I think now. I mean, we could talk for an awful long time just about. I will say, Toccata and Fugue in D minor for organ by Johann Sebastian Bach. How much truth is there in any of those notes? But some other time. What I love about it so much, I loved so much the rhetoric that you generated right at the open. I mean, to take those three statements. I mean, that is rhetoric writ large, okay? The use of silences, the use of repetition of things within a different octave range. So that's what you got to do. You got to take this one, you got to wrestle it to the ground, straight off the bat. The hard thing I think about this piece is to try and keep a narrative arc going through the fugue. The fugue is so many small chunks, yeah, bite-sized pieces, Kentucky Fried Bach, you know. So we got to make sure that we can start the fugue there and just keep that shape going until we reach the end, rather than just sort of end of one section, end of another section, end of another section again. Now, there are many ways in which we can do this. Sorry, I have scissors here, and I don't know why. If you play badly, that's what's going to happen. So, one thing we've got to be very careful about is the overlaps from one section to another to make sure that we don't do anything with the tempo. Sometimes the tempo just sort of went a little woo, and sometimes we go a little bit woo. So you got to keep that tempo nice and steady. The places where it really stood out, like going into that pedal solo there. And there was another one as well where I suddenly thought, aha! Oh, there. Now, how many of you remember how much do I love rubato? I tend to despise rubato quite heavily because for the most part it just gets overused. And I think on an instrument that has no attack, like an organ, it's overused. We rely too heavily on it. I'm not saying that you should never use rubato. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is that choose your places well and choose them carefully and make sure that you have justification for why you're doing it. So let's, for example, take this bit here. It's after all the echo stuff where it goes. Now, my question to you is, I see you've written the word arrive. Yes, absolutely. But once you've arrived, you've got to go. Okay? It's not a case of arriving and sitting down having a cup of tea. We've got to get going. So, we've got to, yes, set it up. So arrive on the D major and then get going. Because, you see, what I'm seeing there is, here's the subject coming in the subdominant. How much of a deal is this? I don't think it's that much of a deal, frankly. Subject, subdominant. If it was in the tonic or the dominant, I'd be thinking a little bit more about it. But on something like the subdominant, at that stage in the piece, we're not really anywhere near the end of that point. So could you just go right from the top of the page, let's get it down to a little bit more fugue size. Does that make sense?
Getting it on the fugue size, or the arriving and keep going?
Arrive and keep going, yes.
And on, when the fugue comes in during the talking time as opposed to before.
That's it, yeah. Because, you know, really, here's the funny thing, everybody. is that, you know, when we're playing a fugue, we got to think about the last entry. I think is always a good place to look for. Last entry of the subject. We've got to turn on the neon sign saying, this is the final entry of the subject. That's not the final entry of the subject. Can you see where the final entry of the subject is? It's very hidden, isn't it? You've got to look where you least expect it, which is in the left hand. Don't play like that. There's the last entry in the left hand, a few bars on from that. And at the same point, look, he's bringing in that wonderful low D there. There's the tonic. That's, I think, as good a place of arrival as any. So in fact, I'd probably be thinking less of arrive here and more of arrive there. Okay, let me take from the top of the page. Let's open up the articulation as we're going there. If we want to get a crescendo or something going, I'll say, I'll tell people when we're playing on the Fisk. If you want to get a crescendo, what do? You open the swell box. Oh Lord, there is no swell box up there. Okay, we open up the articulation. Dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. So if you have a slight bit of rubato along with opening up the articulation, whoosh, then we'll get a good whoosh. Whoosh that. Go back another bar or so before that. Actually, to go from the beginning of that. A couple of little things there, if I might. I would firstly watch out when you're doing this. If you're going to do paired phrasing like that, it gets very old very quickly. So I would say, when you're going to do something like that, again, we've got a difficulty here. How much does Bach write into the score to help us out with that? Not a thing. Not a thing. Okay? So you can put paired phrasing in, but I wouldn't do it throughout the bar on all of the 8 things. When you hear the joke for the first time, it's funny. When you hear it for the second time, you think, when you heard it for the third time, it's just, whatever. Okay. So, ti-om, pom, 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 or on every half bar. Ti-om, pom, pom, ti-om, pom, pom, pom. Yeah, so just watch it. That's something to have a think about. When we get all these big chords right at the end, yom, pom, 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 pa. I know that the temptation is always to put in a few little slur notes once in a while. But just think of, I'm always looking for dramatic effect. Okay? I want to make sure that wonderful people downstairs who pay to come and hear me, that they come out of a recital feeling, cool, blimey, wow, this is a bit like being hit over the head for 2 hours. Yeah, fabulous, this is good. So sometimes at a moment like that, I'll play all of those eighth notes in the manuals and the pedals the same length. Because we've gone from da 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 dee da, now we're into e ah 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 e ah ah thud, the final punch. Okay, and the other guy's over on his back on the floor seeing stuff. Okay, but can you? I will use whatever picture it takes. It's got to be like King Kong coming down, you know. It's not going to be a thing of beauty. It's going to be ka-thud, ka-thud, ka-thud. Let's just do that again. So, yeah, take it out. You can beat it even more than that, trust me. But I think as well, let's just put a little... That E chord is a mistake. It should be repeated 2 openings there. Alrighty? Now, how much of a surprise is that B flat major chord? Oh, it's so exciting! It is. Bum, bum, bum. Bing, pum, pum. Really good. That's just... Yeah. Oh, we've got this. I was saying to my students, one day I'm going to install a punch bag up here. I think sometimes that's just... Boom. That's the effect that I need. Okay, one more time. Okay, and stay on that chord as long as you want. Stay on it for a long time. You know. Some of my students know this when I say, how long is a fermata? To which the answer is...
Until they beg you to stop.
Until they're begging you to stop. Usually my answer is, how long is a piece of string? There is no length. It's there as long as you want it as the performer. So you sit there and you listen to the sound going on around you. When you think it's time to take the chord off, only then do you take the chord off. Yeah? Yeah? Good man. Now, let's... E. Lord. Does anybody mind if we go until about 7 tonight? I think, you know, here's another thing that we got to think about in Bach. Is whenever those rare moments when we get tempo moments. Now, don't forget as well that, you know, they are markings of mood, not of tempo. So, vivace means lively. Now, I've always wondered, it's like at the end of O Mensch Divine. I mean, you know, we're adagio aside. And right at the end, there's that adagissimo. You know, not just slow, but oh, blimey, really. Now, is it a case of where adagissimo is, that it's a different tempo right there at that moment, or do we set it up? I firmly believe at a moment like that, you got to set it up, because I think, you know, otherwise you slam on the brakes too much, and suddenly, without preparing people, it's an odd feeling. I feel here as well, I love the way Mitchie marks presto there over the 30-second notes, because, well, sorry, I'm seeing 30-second notes, and I ain't thinking Andante, I can tell you that. But I think with the vivace right down here, I just wonder, I tend to wind up into that a little bit more. I mean, shall I give you a sporting analogy? I get talkies, I've no idea what I'm talking about, but you know, it's the way in which the picture winds up. The picture just doesn't stand there and sort of go, ooh. You know, there is a pow. So I think we can do the same here. And then push it, push it, push it, push it. The worst that can happen is you might end up too fast. Who cares? Who cares? Why don't you take the adagio there? Right. How many people are expecting that C major chord underneath of it? Let's pretend you're a person who has never heard this piece before. You know? Who knows what's going to happen? So, give that C major chord time. Yeah? Yeah, could you do that again? Oh, Can I attempt to sell you the following? Well done, sir. Well done. That's very good. Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Doesn't time fly when you're enjoying it?
Yes.
Okay, if you take away nothing about after today, it's all about fast cars and boxing. Okay. Anyway, thanks so much. Thank you very much.
So very grateful.
Oh, a bit of fun, you know. Let's fix. God, this. Okay. Sometimes this instrument feels its age. I'll say nothing ever goes wrong with the fizz.
Is this 1902?
1901, I think. It is a money pit. It really.
The bench is fully adjustable. Are you too high? I think it's okay.
All right. You know, when I first came here, we didn't have an adjustable bench. It's a wood that you stick underneath.
That's the term used for pinballs, right?
Yeah. Ooh. It's like there's a lovely wooden box here that the lamp sits on.
Yeah.
And again, when I arrived, I just put pinballs in.
Yeah.
And until our jammed, who is a fabulous carpenter, speaks not a word of English, and I speak that much Spanish. He said, "Libros, no." I said, "Okay." Caja and bolsa. I said, Okay, fantastic. And then he came in next week with this beautifully made box. Put them up. So, that's so good. Alrighty. So here is a piece that I had no idea existed. It's the Marche Funèbre by Cécile Chaminade. A great, she was a teacher. I think she was one of the first to get the Légion d'honneur or something like that. She was a big deal. Oh yeah, that thing for flute and orchestra. I've been hearing more of her piano music as well. It's oh, great stuff. Anyway, let's get miserable. Here we go.
So we did set some things.
Okay, and I will keep an eye out. was not expecting that unison at the end. It's just, it's sort of,
Maybe that's what Funèbre is.
you know, it's like the end, fourth symphony, the first movement, you get all this chromaticism and then it ends on a bare fifth. Who was expecting that? What a great piece! What a great piece. Really, and you play it so beautifully. Thank you very much. So, what I'd love to talk about, because now we're in a very different harmonic language from earlier. What can we do in terms of direction within such a gritty harmonic language? Now, here's the deal. You know how much I love rubato? Yeah. Hate it passionately. However, I do think there are some things in this piece that I think we can do a little bit more. So, in the middle, where we got to the now, she does a couple of things here that are really interesting. I'm sorry, I left my reading glasses at home, so I'm staring at this very much.
Do you want me to get closer to you?
No, actually, you hang on to that. So in this middle section here, number one, we've got this ya da da dee, ya da da dee, dee, ah. Now, I think we can be doing things there. The first thing that speaks out to me is the fact that there's this repetition of the rhythmic figure. Ya da da da, da 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 da. Then dee, ah. So, I'm on the lookout for, if we have a long gesture like that, oh, it's repeated. Isn't that interesting? And then we get a smaller gesture, which is also repeated. So I'm thinking that we've got to do something with those repetitions and with the fact that they're getting smaller. All right? Because what that is going to do harmonically is just speed it up a little. So I'm wondering if we can just give it a... And then, wonderfully enough, we get the same thing. So you can let it go a little bit and see what happens. So here's that little middle section. Okay, so all of that agitato and the ritardando at the end, how much of that is written in there? Not a thing! Okay? But you've just got to listen to the harmonic language and let that do the work for you. Okay? Always be listening for something that's going to be a bit of fun. I think as well, what I might do, put more of a gap, a little here.
Let it break into
Yeah,
those.
absolutely. Oh, yes. But can you do that whole section again, please? Thank you. Once again, how many people are expecting that repetition to come back?
Nobody.
Yeah. And this is great for me because I'm hearing all these surprises because I've never heard this piece before. It's great fun. Just one more time. dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da. Alrighty then, just before that section we get these little ya da da yum bum shi da da ya da. Now this is something totally different. This gesture has not appeared before in this piece, or if it has, I don't know because I can't see it. So now, here's the thing. When we get something that is so totally different, do you want to try and link it in with what's going on before, or do we want it to be something totally different? Because up until now, we've been having all this sort of lugubrious, dark, but now we go, it's a different character. It's all the same play. So far we've had the big old nasty ogre on at the beginning, and now he goes off and sort of, on comes a bunny. Alrighty? And so we need to, it's the same play, but we got a different character. So can we do that little join into there? Sure. I don't know, a couple of bars into it or so. Do I need to do anything there? Or?
No, I'm just switching down the rest.
Okay.
Here.
You choose. I'm painting pictures for myself, ogres and bunnies and things like that. But basically whatever it takes. Yeah, all music is acting. Really, it's all method acting. So if I want to play something that's going to feel totally different. So let's say I'm going to slip my last note for approximately 10 seconds. The opening is. If I get onto the second section and I'm still in the sort of, it's not going to come out the way I want it. Whereas if I go from, you've got to get yourself into that headspace with it as well. Again, Cyrus knows all this all the time. So, if it comes from here and here and get it out here, then we've got a really good mix going on. But I'm sorry, I'm treating you like a 7-year-old.
Sometimes.
Works for me. Do you want to do the same sort of place again? I'm sorry, I should be there keeping an eye. Yeah. Can you do that? Can we get from there to there? I will.
swell to grade.
The swell.
Pedal, sorry.
There's quite a swell to pedal.
Because I think that's what we want.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, yeah. No, that's very good. That's very good. That's very good. So, you know, it's never... Don't take anything at face value, dear friends. Yeah. Everything, every note has a meaning in there. That's so nicely done. I just love to... Let's... Can we go back to around here, please? Now, I know this is not an easy one to do, but I'm really interested in what's going on in the bottom of the left hand of it. So what I would do is open up the articulation nozzle. You know, shall I tell you another trick? Shall I let you in on one of my secrets? If you press the key harder, it'll come out louder. It works. Nobody believes me on it. I don't think yeah. You like cellos. Before arriving on the edge, and I really want to hear that dissonance of the A against the G minor there. Then we go on to our okay, good. I'm now starting to absolutely love this piece hugely now.
Yeah, it's a good piece.
Oh? You've said oh. Okay. All right. Another thing I'd love you to have a little think about here, because God, your hands are small. I'm just wondering. I mean,
That's why I caught these.
yeah. I mean, I'm seeing things going on, and then I look at the size of your hands, and I think, this is why. Let's assume that everybody's got the same sort of shovels I've got here. Both my organ teachers in London and in Seattle, they've got very small hands. And my teacher in London was just rewriting things all over the place because his hands were so small.
This was Nicholas?
That was Nicholas, yeah, tiny hands. Tiny hands. Lord, yeah. And then you hear him play the Rager Opus 72 variations, and you think, oh God, hello, Rager, hello. That's something, isn't it? Can we have a little? I'm going to go into very much Mr. Picky land here, okay? Because I want us to think about this opening. And in particular, what I'm trying to think about is how best to place those eighth notes. Because I don't think that it's going to be the difference between between that and da, dee, pom, 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 pom. So just, I mean, basically what we're going to do is a little bit of separation. Just a tiny, and you know, give it a try. You know, you can always go back home and say, oh, doesn't work, but just to humour me, can we just try that a little bit? That down, yeah, yes, cool. This is why I get the big bucks, yeah. But now, can you do me a favour? When we're going from bar 1 into bar 2, to really line up the top of the right hand and the left hand.
Yeah.
G, tom, pa. And make sure don't let the G bleed into the F sharp there. G, tom, pom. I think you can line up those voices a little bit more. Just do the top voice and the bottom voice. That's it. Nice vertical attacks, everybody. Yes. And releases. Yeah. Always let's be nice and vertical with that. Do that again, put the middle bit in. Okay, good. You're gonna know that. I love this. Cool. So what fingering are you having to do there then in order to?
I substitute to my left hand.
All right. Okay. Can you just straight on that bar? All right.
I shouldn't tie that G, sorry.
Could you make sure then that the C in the middle isn't tied? It's coming out a little bit as.
That's my fault.
Oh.
We play it a dry.
Oh. Humor me for this minute. All right, now I'm going to ask you to think about the impossible, which is to make sure that the slow C is hugely joined to the E flat above it. I mean, the effect that I'm after is not D, pom, pom. I'm trying to think D, that was sort of crescendoing, open. It's opening a little flat. Yeah? Give it a try.
That's why we were trying
No,
that was the time C.
Oh, whatever you did was fabulous. Then, same with the XT. And even more here. Now, what I might do there is God blimey, because all of a sudden here we got this G up here, which is an octave and a half above the initial pitch. So we've got that whole range going straight away. But I might, when I get onto that top G, sit on it for a little bit. Okay. Yeah? Do you play the violin by any chance? All of you all have to learn stringed instruments. Yeah. We'll put that portamento in the middle of it as well. enjoy. Cool. Right. Can we just do the from the end of the top line again? The C to E flat. Maybe a little bit too long. but again, that's the thing. Just to let the phrase open up there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, let's do the end. Gosh, it does get quite sad, doesn't it? Can we go from there?
With this pen. Back on.
Are we okay? So yeah, so here's the thing: is that everything. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let them wait. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Yeah, could you just do those last 3 bars or so? And then I think at the end to make sure it's a real fast release off that. I mean, because we can think of that last note in terms of doing 2 things. Number one, that it just sort of is a little diminuendo al niente, going away to ja. Or we can think of it in terms of having the creepy marcato angle. Ja. You know, I tend to like the creepy marcato. I think it sort of fits with the whole ethos of the piece, I think. Oh my God. All right, till 8 o'clock tonight, is everybody? Once again, I'm always looking for what's new, what's the surprise here. And I think here, I really want to feel the ouch of that B flat there against the C. So pa. Let's give it a bit of time there. Fab. Well done. Well done. Great piece. Great piece. I must say, what book is that from? Ah.
I've never seen it in
I did Chaminade wrote other things than Fugue.
Oh, she wrote lots of really good piano music.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
I only know that on the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Fabulous. Okay. Who's next? Oh, a bit of Bach again. Oh, no. Do we have to listen to more Bach? So, do you need a hand with registration on that?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Alrighty, so let's just go play the A minor Prelude and Fugue of Bach. And he's going to find out that I'm going to treat him very nicely and be very gentle with him so that he actually comes here to study next year. Because otherwise if I start hitting him too much right from the get-go. Alrighty, let's go see what we got next.
See what the piazza. Sure, here's the music.
Oh, no, I don't need it. Okay. And of course you don't.
What registration?
So, do you want to sort of... I think, let me grab that. We'll make it up as we go along.
Awesome.
All right?
Alright.
And let me get the secondary manual set up. Because you never know. Alrighty. Allons-y.
Let's go. off there.
No, that's okay.
It's kind of sad.
You know, it's. Also, you know, if you have a memory lapse or anything like that, you know, nobody dies. This is the good news. Alrighty, so dealing with it is hugely important. But well done, sir.
Thanks.
Well done. So, and also what Nathan is experiencing here is that this pedal board is a bit difficult to play. It's straight, flat, and very small. And the manual keys are much smaller as well, so it's a whole different way of playing once you come up here. So, I think that the problems I have are all philosophical ones.
Okay.
That's a good one. I'll try and shout downstairs as best I can as well. So, the good thing about the fugue is that once it gets going, it goes. Yeah. So we don't. The fugue's a pretty easy one to crack. The prelude is, you know, if we're attempting chronologies of Bach's works, this one looks like an early work, quacks like an early work, or middle period, shall we say. One of them was early Weimar, maybe, who knows. But it's the fact that it looks more like, at times, like a Buxtehude Preludium than a prelude within the mature Bach sense of the word. Okay? Now, if you've ever played Buxtehude Preludia, the hard part about them is, again, do you remember the narrative arc from earlier this afternoon? Is that we got all these bite-sized chunks and we got to make some sense out of it. We got to make sure that it goes in one direction and doesn't stop every 30 seconds. This prelude is one of those where we got to be a bit careful. So,
Yeah. There are a lot of little chunks of
there,
music.
oh, Kentucky Fried Bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, once again, it's like the C major toccata of Bach. You know, dum bum ba da dum, bum ba da dum, yaga da ga da ga da ga da ga da ga da. Once you get going into that, it's pretty much, I think, a case of set it and forget it, lean on a few things once in a while, but on the whole, let it play itself out. So, could we just do those first couple of pages?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Thank you. I'm going to push in that mixture over there. That's good. Kill this. Oh, we don't need that. Actually, let's just do that for the time being, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Good. Now, there are a couple of important things about this opening here. Number one, what does this piece begin with? What's the first thing that happens in this piece? No, even before that. There's a rest. There is a 16th note rest right at the beginning. So, I think we've always got to be feeling the fact that it's not sort of going dee da da dee da dee da dee, but it is sort of dee da dee da dee da dee da da. So count yourself in and let it go.
Sure.
There are times when I've played this where I do a little wind up in the beginning, da dee da dee da dee da da. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today I don't. Ask me in about 2 weeks' time, and we'll see what happens.
So just get started from the beginning.
I think so. I feel that. Now, the other thing, let me think. Here's the deal. I mean, of course, you play this very well. Thank you. I think if you're setting up I mean, I exaggerate hugely. The first time you hear the joke, it's funny. The second time, it's a bit ho-hum. The third time you hear the joke, you think, no. So if you're going to do that, be judicious with your use of it.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I would probably set it up more at the beginning and then ease off on it as it goes along.
Sure.
Just give that a try. It's sorry, it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, I think I understand. So, so get started from the get-go, and then also don't overdo the slight holding.
Just do it a little bit at the beginning and then ease off as it goes along.
Sure. That's
All right? That's heading in a really good direction. Now, if you can, and again, this is Mr. Picky coming out to teach today. When you're moving from one to the other, from the longer initial 16ths, can you be more gradual with it? I mean, we're basically talking here about the length of the 16th note. So, at the beginning, you know, the 16th note can be a good long one, but then as it's going along, just to ease up on the length of that initial 16th and make it match the others.
Sure.
Good. One more time. Okay. Now, when we reach that G natural, you know, I mean, isn't this fabulous? Is that we get all this chromatic language.
Yeah.
And the first time that you think it's going to cadence, oh no. He doesn't cadence. He lands it straight on that 7 at A major.
Yeah.
Ay. So, that's important. And again, let the harmonic language do the work for you in the phrasing. Don't spend too long on it, because we still got quite a lot of piece to go.
Yeah.
So then go.
I'll start from here again.
Thank you. Just telling him to do the same as he did at the beginning, which is to play around with the initial 16th notes. And then I also said to him, you know, when we were getting lower down in the tessitura there, I used the word dig. And I really mean that. Get your fingers into the keys. You know, don't forget what I said earlier, is if you hit the key harder, it'll sound loud. It will, it honestly will. But so dig in the lower down you get. Now, we've had this point of arrival. We start that digga. So, yeah, it's a point of arrival.
Yeah.
You also arrive 2 beats later when the pedal came.
Right, that's the... I guess I
So
should...
I think you need to choose one arrival.
I think the second one is more important than the first one. Maybe.
But don't you think? So I always wanted to be a trial lawyer, you see. But don't you think? I think when we arrive at the first, that's the point of arrival. When the pedal comes in, let that just be a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Try that. Also,
Sure. might take it home and
Change it.
change it. Doesn't worry me. Now, if you try and do it in a year's time from now, then it does worry me. But
I'll try not to do that.
all right, can you turn over? Now, we've got this fabulous moment. So we get all this triplet stuff going, and then, 10 bars later, suddenly it all turns into these 30 seconds. So what I think we need to do there is no sense of a ritardando going into the 30-second notes. I want that to be a jolly big surprise.
Okay. Sure. So you mean like, don't slow down here and then just go straight
Exactly.
into it?
Exactly. Here, so.
Sure.
Alrighty. Okay. Now, I get the feeling we could spend a very happy hour just on these 2 bars here.
Yeah, it's really quite something.
Because when we're looking at all these 30 seconds, here's the deal, is that there are upper notes, there are lower notes. Do we want to play it all the same? Do we want to bring things out? If you ask 5 different teachers, you're going to get 5 different answers. I'm told it's like Torah texts. If you ask 5 different rabbis, you're going to get 5 different answers. But I think what we've got to do is settle in on what sort of effect with articulation we want. Because here's the problem, is that it's going all over the place. We've got that low A in the pedal still sounding out. So at no time, I think we've got to be letting the action do the work for us. At no time even think about playing. I think this has got to be one of those moments where you're right on top of the key.
Sure.
All the time. Because I want it to sound like not like so and then we get onto that at the end and just let it jangle.
So more notey.
Right on top of the key. Right on top of the key. It's a bit more fizzy and bubbly.
Sure.
Yeah. And then and then at the end of that we've got that wonderful written out ornament. And just let that jangle. Really. Then I think, oh God, wow. How much fun are you having? I think when we get onto the next bar there, where the pedal starts going dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da da da, yeah, take a bit of time. We've got to settle on the beginning of that bar, but settle, arrive, but do not stop.
Okay.
You ought to get through that. How many notes are you playing now?
Usually I do 8, sometimes I do 9.
Oh, let's try 8, shall we? Get the finger. Good. So the trick is that once you've arrived at that pedal lick, da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-da, it's got to go. Make sure it doesn't speed up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still got to be at the good old tempo.
Let's try it again.
We wish we had more time.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about.
go on to this section. We're going about 6-8 bars ahead now to this C major. Da dee da dee da 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 dee da dee da dee da da. So I think there is a typo. That F sharp should be an octave down.
Oh, really?
Well,
I'll make that change.
yeah. So here again, we got to make sure that how can I put this? Some phrases end in very short note values. It's like at the beginning of this, there's one phrase that ends in a 16th note. You got to go ahead. So I think it's a case of not snatching away at it. That really let that 16th note do its thing. Da dee 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 da dum bum 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 John bum 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 pim pum 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 pum. You can arrive at it more. Let the pipe speak.
Oh, so don't
Sure.
don't like cut it off too short.
No.
Okay.
No. But think of the 16th that follows it. That it's not a case of going yum ba dee da dum. Don't accent that one. Yum pum 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 chi da dee da dee da dee da dum. It's still part of the old
So
phrase.
it's more like a bridge.
Absolutely so.
That's something similar here as well.
Yeah, same sort of thing. Alrighty. Lord, I wish we could carry on, but
Yeah.
I'm told that I have to allow time for questions, but well done, sir. Very well done. That's a good outing on this instrument. Well done.
Thank you.
Very well done. Who's going to ask me the question about changing manuals in Bach? All right.
I have a question about changing manuals.
It is a fabulous question. And, I'll give you the basic answer of, who knows? Because, we're very lucky in that, I say to people, when we're playing Bach, and he gives you a clue of what to do, you take it. You take it. So sometimes he even marks a change of manual. Yeah, the Dorian Toccata, the St. Anne Prelude. Hallelujah. Throw me a bone and I can go with this, that. If you want to change manuals, and I am not going to say you must never change manuals, because that's the worst type of musicology, cutting off your nose to spite your face. Make sure, if you're going to do it, that you've got a convenient place to go, and you've got a convenient place to get back. Sometimes the going is very easy, and then you suddenly think, hold on, how am I going to get back again? And that should be the number one clue to say, you shouldn't be changing manuals here.
Is that how you feel about the A minor?
Yeah. I think, and that fugue, I think, we are very lucky here to have an organ with an incredible plenum. Once you've got a great plenum going, play the notes, get out of the way, let the music happen. So it's tricky question. Yes.
How do you feel about places where you can put one hand on one manual and another on? Obviously, this isn't indicated either, but
No.
some people do it. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's okay.
Could you repeat the question?
So the one manual, one hand on one manual, one hand on another where it's not indicated. Same thing. If don't try and put the square peg in the round hole. If you're going to do it, make sure you've got an escape mechanism. Really, it's. I mean, I love these old recordings you hear of like Schweitzer playing Bach and Dupre playing Bach. I love them. Oh, you know, hallelujah. The worst thing we can do is never play the music. That's the way they did it back there, which is why I always say, you know, when you got your copy of the Schweitzer Theodor Bach edition or the Dupre Bach edition, read the forwards. Read them and, you know, find out how they were playing Bach. That is performance practice.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be our taste these days. It's not to say it's not bad.
And maybe if I can add more, I think we should have a reason to do it. Justification, and you talk about the beginning, you talk about the justification, why we need to do it. If there are some reasons to do it harmonically, if its counterpoint work better,
Yeah.
like that reason is so important and you should do that, they compel you to do it, then I can write a thesis about it, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, the music must always be the guide. It's always got to be the guide. That's why I said, you know, don't try that square peg with the round hole thing. Ain't gonna happen. I mean, I have a fabulous recording of my old teacher from London playing Bach on a neo Baroque instrument in the UK, and he's doing the G minor Fantasia and Fugue. And that bit in the Fantasia where I go. And what he does over 3 manuals is that every time that chromatically ascending dee-da, he goes on to another manual. And then he'll follow it down, he'll thumb down, and then he'll do it again. Then he'll go on to another manual, at which point somebody's pulled out more stops on another manual so that chromatically ascending figure is always being brought out. I mean, you know, it's I love him, and he's an incredible teacher. I love him to death. But when I think of that, I think, what were you thinking? It's great.
Did he ever fall off when doing that? I feel like that's
Do you know that's just when you ask your page turner to play that line. Any other questions? Mark?
Very general. Lessons from the pandemic. In terms of music, organ music.
Let me confess to you. Put your purple stoles on, everybody. When the pandemic started for me, this is purely my fault. And, you know, I was told I wasn't going to be able to get in here for months. And, you know, I don't have a piano at home, so. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to miss this so much. And as a week and then another week went along, I thought, And then more weeks went along, I thought, I was doing crosswords and reading. And, you know, ultimately, you know, I viewed this as the sabbatical I'll never have. Because I had a few months without playing anything, and it did me a hell of a lot of good. So that's the one very personal story from it, is that, you know, I can't come back to this repertoire from years ago thinking, now I can do you again. Let us never, ever make music on Zoom again. Let this never, I mean, I hope to never have to teach on Zoom again.
I'm with you on that.
It's
Chinese water torture.
oh God, just 1,000 cups, etc., etc. The one thing which I found with with the choirs I conduct, I just said to them, I said, look, Tuesday evening, 7 till 9, I'll be on. If you want to come on, I'll talk about Bach for a bit. And then sometimes we just get some really easy anthems. I do have my electronic keyboard. Yamaha Krakenovas. And so we would sing through really easy anthems, but me banging on this keyboard and then singing totally unmuted, and my poor neighbors. But what we've found here is that concert attendance has been way up since we originally. Way up.
Oh, good.
Which is fabulous. We're not doing any more advertising than we usually do, but attendance has really been. So I think it shows that there is this absolute need for live performance. And it's important. I mean, there are times in my great jaded moments where I say, okay, it pays the mortgage. But I do realise after this that it's a bit more than that. Quite. An awful lot. I think ultimately I miss teaching more than playing. I love teaching. I've been doing it for over 30 blah years now. It's in the DNA. So. I'm sorry, there were. If you were expecting great philosophy, no, I was happy to have a rest. And certainly friends of mine who like playing the symphony, they were saying the same. It's just been nice to step back from it all a little bit. Anything else? That's a great philosophy there. Sometimes you just need to not play music for a bit.
Yeah, I think that's my teacher said to me. That's like if we're during vacation, like summer or winter vacation, you just sit back into the nature or anything. Then you come back.
Sometimes you just got to go to Mexico and sit on the beach with Palo. The Mai Tai and see what happens. So,
What's a piece that you haven't worked on yet that you want to work on?
a piece that I want to learn.
Greek, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
Oh, the Greek. Yeah,
Of course.
I love the Greek piano concerto as much as I love rubato. What can I say? I've started pulling out again. I mean, more sort of relearning, because like the Royal Sonata, I haven't played that for nearly 20 years now. And it's at a point where I'll have to relearn it, I think. But it's going to be so nice to revisit that. The Dupré Second Symphony is another one that I haven't played for a long time.
Oh, heard you play that here.
Oh, God.
Years ago.
That was years ago when I could. It all gets a bit harder when you get older. But no, those two are certainly in the lineup, I'd say. Anything else? Hello.
Where in the world is your favorite organ and why?
Oh, that's a really easy question to answer. This instrument here is the greatest instrument I've ever played. It astonishes me every time I sit down to play it. It teaches you how to play. If the music's sounding bad, it's because you're playing bad. It's got everything. Okay, I'm an early music player, so that's it. It just has everything I need on it. But also, the fact that it just sounds so good in here. I mean, sitting here listening to it is a bit sort of. When you hear it down in the church, it's, as I said, the pedals are smaller, the keys are smaller. you just, yeah, you just got to learn to play very, very, very quietly. But so I would say this is my favorite. It really is. Sorry, that's probably a cheap answer, but
Have you tried those like ancient German organs, and how do they compare to this?
I've only played a couple of some in Holland. They're a bit heavier, I'll tell you. I mean, on some of those, when you start coupling manuals together, you've got to get a bit of, I say dig, this is more than dig. But no, I'm always amazed that the scholarship that they use to build this instrument here means that, you close your eyes and, you're hearing like moments of Zilberman here and shit, yeah. Charles Fisk did an awful lot of travels to Europe when they were first building their great early music instruments. So, you go there and you look at the specifications of all the instruments, the metal types used, the action, etc., etc., etc. Oh, great. Anyone else?
And I want you to explain about the organ program at Stanford.
Oh, the organ program at Stanford. Well, such as it is. I mean, some of you will know that we used to have a major performance program here many years ago, which then disappeared. So we used to offer like DMAs and performance, all gone. So we've had to, over the last 20 years, build this back up again. And I think we're doing good stuff. So here we don't offer performing degrees, but you can do for example, a bachelor's degree with a final project, which is going to be a senior recital. I've had people come through it's very easy to tailor undergraduate degrees here. So if you're interested in early music and social anthropology, then yeah, we can do something to help tailor that for you. I've had people who just wanted to study early music, and so we were able to tailor it where they studied harpsichord as well. Adam Detzner, he did an amazing harpsichord recital as well as his organ recital. So it's very possible. The good thing I always say to people is that come here and get a good all-round education. Then you can go on to conservatory. But I think come here and ladies and gentlemen, there are too many stupid organists out there. You got to listen to opera. You got to look at art history. You got to read literature. You cannot play music without doing those. You just can't. Ain't gonna happen. It's like when we were talking about the Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I have problems with that piece. But they come from something we talk about in art history as well, connoisseurship. Doesn't smell right. There are a few little things, doesn't look right, doesn't smell right. It's like, do you remember those years ago when that new Leonardo appeared, the Salvator Mundi? And it sold for that incredible amount out of Christie's. I was sitting with a friend of mine, and we were looking at it on his computer, and I said, I'm not a Renaissance art scholar. It doesn't look right. Something doesn't smell good about it. And the fact that it hasn't been seen since it was sold, I wonder if some other people have suddenly said, hold on, this doesn't seem right. So there are things about that Toccata. The other problem that we have with that Toccata, there's no autograph copy. That's a bit of a problem. Also, do you know about the theory that it might be a violin piece?
That would actually make sense.
Great British
Very
music.
string idiom.
Yeah, very, very, very string idiom. A great British musicologist called Peter Williams some years ago came with this theory. He said if you transpose it into A minor, Because
Oh,
then
it's
you know
always
you can do all that. You can fit in that opening, and then you've still got all the nice string crossing for all the stuff going on. And there are recordings on YouTube. Because Peter Williams made this edition. I think Jaap Schroeder recorded it several times, and it's a very convincing string piece. It
Just for solo violin?
Solo violin.
Like, I guess it fits nicely on the open strings.
Exactly.
Like A and E.
Exactly.
And then the pedal part is surprisingly not dense. I mean, they're like 3 sections of pedals, so I guess that.
But have you? I mean, it was funny. I was talking with a friend the other day about the you know that fear.
Yeah.
Because you know that's of course a violin.
It does sound.
Isn't it called the fiddle or something?
Yeah, that's the supposed name of it. But you know, you hear the original on the violin. And I'm always amazed when I hear that, just how much counterpoint you can get out of basically a monophonic instrument. You know, listen to the D minor chaconne.
Yeah.
Similar thing. How can you get out of one instrument with 4 strings and a bow?
Maybe we should turn to an organ piece for retribution, since the Toccata may have been taken from a violin piece. Switch the roles.
Maybe get me own back. Do you know, once what I did was to, as you know, in the organ version, that fugue has a strange little prelude with it, which is a beautiful piece. It doesn't belong in that fugue at all. I mean, it's just. But so then what I did was to take the first movement, the opening of that Bach sonata, from the solo violin, transpose it into D minor. Because then it just looks like the G minor fantasy, BW 542. Same thing, same share. So, it's fun. I mean, recycle, reuse. Really.
I assume in the new version there's no opportunity to switch manuals
Oh,
like
then,
4 times though, right?
But you know, luckily we have this wonderful bow that can do sort of.
Exactly.
The organ program here. Yeah, anyway, that's it. I'm sorry. I said, no. Wow, let's see how much off track we can really go.
The
Whoa.
music department here is very nice, and the coursework in music history extremely strong. It's very strong.
Glad that you're here. Right?
There we go. Yeah, I mean, we've got fabulous musicology teachers and theorists, of course. And yeah, the rest of us, we work at the chalk face, see what happens. Any other questions, my friends?
I think it's about to just close Masterclass. Before we close it, you observe that his passion, pure, power for the music, and just convey to students in you, and it's fascinating about him. Actually, I always feel like that. So he made big moves.
So those who performed, it's a terrible thing to just get up, sit down and play, and oh my God, look at all these people, and to the teachers as well. Thank you. So,